Sifatul af'al, the attributes of doings, or the attribute of doing. You can say attribute or attributes. You can say sifatul fi'l, and you can say sifatul fi'l. Either way. So we came to this chapter here, and we just basically started reading from the top for the loftiness of the topic. I added something for you. There was something else I wanted to add too, but I didn't find it. So I'm just going to read to you what I did add for you. Starting here, Yani, what's the Ash'ari position about the doings? You can tell us. According to the Ash'aris, what's the Ash'ari position concerning the doings of God? What did they say is the case of the judgment of the doings of God? 5, 4, 3, 2. Someone's going to answer me, please. I hope so. Is a trace of his power. Barakallahu fikum. Which means, what's another word you can put there? Another way you can say that. The doing of Allah is, give me one single word.
Did he say Kudra?
No, not Qudra. Qudra is the power. The power of Allah is an attribute of His self. The doing of Allah, according to the Ash'aris, is not eternal, is created.
Makhluk.
Makhluk, correct. Muhdath, it's an event, it's an occurrence. Is not eternal. So that's the meaning of trace of His power. The sisters answered that the doing of Allah, according to the Ash'aris, is a trace of His power. That's correct answer. And then I said to her, can you tell me something else, another way? The answer I was looking for is to say created. According to them, the doing of Allah is created. It's a trace of His power. Okay. So we're just focusing really quick here on this Ash'ari way. This is what they said. The doing of Allah has a trace of His power. Here amongst them is Al-Bayhaqi. I told you that last time, but I didn't have this quote there last time. He has another quote I was looking for, but I didn't find it. So I grabbed this one. And anyway, this one is brief, so that's fine. He said in Al-Asma'u wa-Sifat, وَأَمَّا الْإِتْيَانُ وَالْمَجِيءُ. As for the ityan and the maji', so ityan means, and maji', they mean the same thing in Arabic language. Ityan means maji'. Maji' means ityan in Arabic language. These two words both came as attributes of Allah, or as if you want, yani, in such a way, yani, they came attributed to Allah, put it that way. Mudafatan. They came attributed to Allah, ascribed to Allah. Now, are they eternal attributes of His or what? Here's what Al-Bayhaqi says. وَأَمَّا الْإِتْيَانُ وَالْمَجِيءُ. As for the ityan and the maji', فَعَلَى قَوْلِ أَبِي الْحَسَنِ الْأَشْعَرِي رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ. According to the saying of Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, may Allah accept from him, يُحْدِثُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فِعْلًا. Here. This is the shahid. Allah creates on resurrection day a doing. Or Allah creates a doing on resurrection day. Fi'l. So whose fi'l is this? It's the fi'l of Allah. It's the doing. It's Allah's doing. Is it created? Yes. That's what he says right here. According to Al-Ash'ari, The Ityan and the Maji are doings of Allah, doings that He shall create on Judgment Day, called Ityan and Maji. Not that He moves or relocates. And uh, we need to see His uh, what was Al Bayhaqi citing for him to say Judgment Day in particular, because it came in the Quran. فأتى الله بنيانهم من القواعد فخر عليهم السقف من فوقهم. So if you translate it very literally, Allah came to their buildings from the foundations. فَأَتَى اللَّهُ بُنْيَانَهُمْ. Very literally, Allah came to their buildings. مِنَ الْقَوَاعِدِ, from the foundations. فَخَرَّ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّقْفُ, and then the roof fell upon them. The ceiling fell upon them. Okay, so أَتَى اللَّهُ, Allah came. This is a doing of His, according to some of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah. This, what has been called here, you know, God approaching or God coming, just translating literally here, is a doing of Allah, yani, and like Al-Bayhaqi said, not that Allah moves or relocates, rather means something that He creates. So according to the Ash'aris, the doing of Allah is a creation, is a trace of His power. It's a creation. Here's a question here. It says, what do you mean? What are you asking me about? Exactly. I'm not sure which part you need me to clarify for you. Okay. So, said Forrest Gump? Yes. My Forrest Gump example. I wasn't going to use it, but since you mentioned it. Yeah, subhanallah. Uh, now, this Forrest Gump example, it's on the side, away from the issue of whether the doing is created or not. It's about the meaning of coming. In that movie, Forrest Gump, if you've seen it, there's a scene with Lieutenant Dan, the character Lieutenant Dan, and Forrest Gump. They're on a ship, and then Lieutenant Dan he commits blasphemy and he challenges God, and then a storm came right at that moment. So Forrest Gump says, "Then God came," or something like that. I think I forgot exactly how the line goes, but what he meant was, yeah, the traces of His power, which was God sent a storm. So then that made me see that this meaning could happen in English. This meaning of coming, meaning God creating something. Okay, that's though a little bit off the topic of whether the doing of Allah is created or not. You said, what is the difference in the interpretation of this verse between both parties? I don't know. Okay, now to where we got to. What's this first footnote here? Let's go ahead and tackle the footnote. So here's a footnote. This footnote goes to here. Under the title of i'ana, empowering. Empowering. This means Allah creating in you power, creating power in you, empowering. I'ana. This empowering, this word i'ana is the broadest word because Allah can empower you to do good or He could empower you to do evil. If that empowering is related to creating in you, doing good, and being compliant, then it's called tawfiq. And if that i'ana, if that empowerment is related to enabling you to do evil, then it's called khivlan. It's like what we saw about takween. Takween, creating. Takween is the broadest word. If it's related to life creation, you're going to call it ihya. This is the Maturidi way. If it's related to creating death, you're going to call it imata, etc. If it's related to providing, you're going to call it razq. So like that. I'ana, empowering. If it is related to creating in the slave compliance, then it's called tawfiq. And if it is related to creating in the slave the power to do evil, then it's called khizlan, forsaking. That's the title. And the footnote goes to this sentence: the ability to do an action or to perform a deed or to perform some work. Work here meaning a deed or an action. Is by the i'ana, the empowerment of Allah. That's His attribute. Which, when used unrestrictedly and in supplication, when you use i'ana without restriction, without a qualifier, like if you say, a'anak Allah, may Allah empower you, and you didn't say, empower you to do good, or you didn't say, empower you to do bad, you just said it openly. That's the meaning of unrestrictedly. When this is used unrestrictedly, the i'ana, and in supplication, like the example I just gave you, you supplicated for someone and said, a'anak Allah, may Allah empower you, and you said it with an open statement, then it is for the good. It automatically goes to the good, to creating the good in the slave. So if you said to a person, a'anak Allah, may Allah empower you, that's not a dua against him. Though i'ana could be creating in you the power to do evil. So when said openly, it just by default goes to the good. And similar to that is when you make dua for someone and you say, Jazakallah, and then you stop there. You could say, Jazakallahu khaira, may Allah recompense you with good. Then it goes to the good. That's what you made dua for. And what if you said, Jazakallahu sharra, may Allah pay you with evil, harm? That's possible. So what if you just said it openly? Jazakallah, may Allah pay you. So what does it go to? It just goes to the good. Like that, if you made dua and you said, A'anak Allah, may Allah enable you. Then it means enable you to do the good. So then when it's open like that and in supplication, it's for the good, for the tawfiq. Here's a footnote. Thus, it is said that Allah empowered someone to do something, whether good or bad. Yani empowering is open for both of those. If Allah empowered a person to do the good, then He willed the good for him. And if He empowered him to do the evil, then He willed the bad for him. However, It is not said that Allah gave someone tawfiq, which is the compliance, the God-given compliance, unless it were in goodness. Then you're going to say, وَفَّقَهُ اللَّهُ. Allahu waffaqahu. Allah gave him the tawfiq. It means good only. Hence, if it were said, may Allah give you the tawfiq, it means may He empower you to do the good. Okay, that's clear. Alhamdulillah. Here's the next footnote. This footnote goes here. If a slave's inward ability pertained to good deeds, meaning he actually did something good, then Allah's creating it, which is His i'ana, yani, His empowering that one to do it, that's His i'ana, is then called tawfiq, granting compliance. The slave's inward ability, the real ability. Now we're not talking about tools. Ability sometimes refers to tools, water, money, vehicle, etc. Those are tools. You call them ability. And sometimes when we say ability, we mean one's real power, the real power, not the tools. That's what we're talking about now, the real power. If a slave's inward ability, not his tools, pertain to good deeds, which means he actually did good deed. He actually did the good deed. Allah created in him the power to do good. Allah's creating in him power is called i'ana. And when that is related to the good, then it's called tawfiq, granting compliance. Footnote, this was mentioned by Ibn Furak in Mujarrad Maqalat al-Ash'ari and by Abu Sa'id al-Mutawalli, he's a mujtahid in the Shafi'i school, and by Imam al-Haramain in al-Irshad, also a Shafi'i mujtahid, and by Muhammad al-Amir al-Kabir in his Majmu', and others. So just citing some scholars who mentioned that. Okay. Next footnote goes with this sentence here. Tawfiq is not a synonym for i'ana, because i'ana is broader, as I think is clear for you. No. I'ana is broader than tawfiq because i'ana is empowering, whether good or bad. Tawfiq is empowering the slave to do good. So tawfiq is not a synonym for i'ana because Allah empowers the slave to do the good and to do the bad, as far as i'ana is concerned. Then the slave, when he is enabled to comply, he's called muwaffaq, made to comply. Uh, People translate this tawfiq as success a lot, or muwaffaq, maybe they would translate it as successful. But when I thought about it, what I understand from the Arabic, what I know, from the Arabic, that has the meaning of compliance in a more literal sense, as opposed to success. Success is like falah, fawz. That's success, triumph. So when the slave is made to comply, he would be called, meaning described as muwaffaq. And Al-Ash'ari called his ability to obey, the slave's ability to obey, lutuf, benevolence. Yani. Or It means what Al-Ash'ari is saying by using this word here, lutuf, is that Allah Ta'ala made it easy for the slave. Or one might say, took it easy on the slave. And enabled him to do the good. This is Al-Ash'ari's terminologies here. According to Al-Ash'ari, the slave's ability to obey, yani talking about his ability. His ability to obey is called lutuf. And if it were uninterrupted by major sin, his ability to be compliant, if it were uninterrupted by major sin, then it's called isma, impeccability. Here's a footnote. Al-Ash'ari did not deny that impeccability could exist in people who are not prophets. But there is no way for us to know that, to confirm it. He's saying, I'm not going to deny that a non-prophet could be impeccable, but how could I know that he is impeccable? Because what is in their hearts, as well as their outcomes, is hidden from us. The wali, as you know, he is impeccable, but impeccable from committing blasphemy only, not more. His impeccability doesn't go beyond blasphemy. A wali could commit a major sin, and of course, he could commit a small sin. He did deny, Al-Ash'ari, he did deny what the Najjariyah said about the ability to do blasphemy being blasphemy, and that it is a prevention from belief, or an inability to believe, or a block from belief, or a detour away from it. He denied what the Najjariyah said, that the ability to blaspheme is blasphemy. So Al-Ash'ari didn't say that. Your ability, one's ability to blaspheme is itself blasphemy. Al-Ash'ari didn't say that. Wal-'iyadhu billahi ta'ala. The deviant people didn't leave a stone unturned in terms of saying wacky things. Okay. Now, the next footnote comes under another section. We're still going over the doings of Allah. All these are subsections under the doings. Now we've reached the subsection of al-ishqa wal-is'ad. And by the way, what are these subsections that we have here? Take a quick look. So we talked about the attribute of doing. So that's here. After we clarified the difference between the Sunnis, the difference between the Sunnis, meaning the Ash'aris and the Maturidis in this case, and that neither group is deviated here. And we, following Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's footsteps, we spelled out the debate between them. Now I actually have Ibn Hajar's quote here. Here, I told you, I used Ibn Hajar's quote like a skeleton for all these details about the debate between the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. Here's Ibn Hajar's quote itself. So I put it in the footnotes. That's it. You see? See how brief it is there? It's just a few lines, really. So I took this when I did the chapter for the doings. Here, Ibn Hajar, he spells out the debate between the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. So I took this and then I built on it. And I put information that I had over top of it. Now I'm not going to read this quote of Al-Ash'ari, of Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani. After we talked about the attributes of doings, the next chapter is guiding and misguiding. Now we didn't read anything here. There's no footnote here. But I can tell you that the guidance is of two types, like the Sheikh said. One is clarifying the truth and calling to it and establishing the evidence for it. That's the act of a slave. The other meaning of guiding is Allah creating the guidance in you. That's the doing of Allah Ta'ala. And on the other hand, Allah misguides also. Like in this ayah here, Allah misguides, such as وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا. And whomever Allah will to misguide, He makes his chest tight, constricted. Yani, his chest being tight and constricted is an expression of how he cannot find it in himself to embrace Islam. Denying either of those, that Allah guides or misguides, is definitely blasphemy. Then after guiding and misguiding comes the chapter about empowering to do the good and empowering to do the evil. Then after that comes the chapter about the one who dies as a believer and the one who dies as a kafir. Al-ishqa wal-is'ad, yani making someone die as a believer or making someone die as a kafir. Then after that is razq or tarziq, providing, and then we have our details there. And as you can see, under doings, that's only a little bit. Ya'ana, ishqa, war razq. That's just a little bit when it comes to talking about the doings of Allah. However, these cases have important details in the Aqidah. Because when we talk about i'ana, empowering, then we're going to explicitly say Allah empowers the slave to do evil. So we are deliberately saying that, and we are willing to argue for it. When someone says, what? God doesn't create the evil? And we're going to say, yeah, He does. And then inshallah, we're going to defeat that person. Yani, He guides and He misguides. And He empowers to do the good, and He empowers to do the evil. And He makes someone die as a believer or makes someone die as a kafir. So we are now here. Al-ishqa wal-is'ad. Al-ishqa, making someone a kafir, making him miserable, making someone a miserable kafir. Wal-is'ad, making someone a happy believer. Ishqa means to make someone miserable. And is'ad means to make happy. The Ash'aris and the Maturidis differed here. Let's clarify their difference. In brief words, For the Maturidis, Allah would make a person a believer, then Allah would make him a kafir. And Allah would make a person a kafir, then Allah would make him a believer. Okay, what did the Ash'aris say? They said, if Allah willed for someone to die as a believer, then as'adahu. He granted him the is'ad. Not just to be a believer, to die as one. And if Allah willed for someone to die as a kafir, then he has the ishqa. Allah made him miserable. This means, according to the Ash'aris then, that anyone who is now currently a kafir, but he is destined to die as a believer, that he is amongst the su'ada. He's amongst the people who have the sa'ada, the happiness, meaning he shall have it. And anyone whom Allah willed in eternity to die as a kafir, then he is a shaqi. He's a miserable one, a wretched one. He has the shaqawa, the wretchedness. Even if he's a Muslim presently, but Allah knows that he will before his death flip and turn into a kafir and die as a kafir, then he's a shaqi now. That's the Ash'ari way. Here's Imam An-Nasafi's words about the ishqa and the is'ad. And An-Nasafi, he's a Hanafi Maturidi. He says, وَالسَّعِيدُ قَدْ يَشْقَى. The believing, happy one might become miserable, meaning he might blaspheme. وَالشَّقِيُّ قَدْ يَسَعَدْ. And the miserable might become happy. So the translation is really representative of terminologies. The believing, happy one might become miserable, i.e. blaspheme. And the miserable one, yani the blasphemer, might become happy, meaning a believer. So it's clear there if you want to investigate the sentence. وَالتَّغَيُّرُ يَكُونُ عَلَى السَّعَادَةِ وَالشَّقَاوَةِ دُونَ الْإِسْعَادِ وَالْإِشْقَاءِ. The change occurs in the happiness, which is the state of belief, or the misery, which is the state of blasphemy. So that right there, he's saying to you, the shaqi could become a sa'id. The sa'id could become a shaqi. It's not stable, necessarily. So the change occurs in the happiness or the misery, not in Allah's attributes of is'ad, making one a happy believer, or ishqaq, making one a miserable kafir. وَلَا تَغَيُّرٌ عَلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى وَلَا عَلَى صِفَاتِهِ. No change occurs to Allah, the Exalted, or His attributes. Okay. Now, according to the Ash'aris, the Sa'id, like I already told you, he is the one who shall die as a believer, not the one who is now currently a believer. He is the one destined to die as a believer, even if he's a kafir now. And the Shaqi is the one who shall die in a state of blasphemy. It is destined that he shall die upon blasphemy, even if he's a believer now. And thus, this does not change according to them, according to the Ash'aris. According to the Maturidis, the happy one could become miserable and the miserable one could become happy, and back and forth. The Ash'aris, they say no. The happy one is the one who will die as a believer. Everything else doesn't contribute to his name of being a happy one here. We have a text here, a quote here. Az-Zarkashi said in Tashnif al-Masami', Abu Bakr never ceased to be accepted by Allah. So how could this be valid? Is valid. Because it means he was destined to die as a believer. This is the expression of Shaykh al-Ash'ari. This is Az-Zarkashi talking. And it is clear, based on what was previously mentioned about the sa'ada, the happiness, and the shaqawa, the misery, not changing. Some of the Hanafis thought that he was saying that he was a believer before the revelation, and that is not so. The meaning of never cease to be accepted by Allah is that he is in a situation in which he is not related to the punishment of Allah. Because of Allah's knowledge, glorified and exalted, that he will believe and become among the purest of pious people. Footnote. This footnote goes here. This expression that has been memorized from Al-Ash'ari was said about Abu Bakr and not memorized from him about anyone else. That Abu Bakr never ceased to be acceptable to Allah, never ceased to be. So, according to what's written here, according to the intent of what these scholars are saying, then he was accepted by Allah with the meaning that Allah knew his outcome. Okay. So this was said about Abu Bakr, and it was not memorized from Al-Ash'ari about anyone else that he said that. Shaykh As-Suyuti, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy upon him, said that no state of blasphemy in Allah was confirmed about Abu Bakr. And that he used to say that perhaps his situation before the revelation was like the situation of Zayn ibn Amr ibn Nufayl and his peers. Yani those who were in the time of ignorance, in the era of ignorance, and they had correct creed and monotheism without taking it from a prophet. As-Suyuti is saying Abu Bakr's case is like their case. Those ones who arrived at monotheism on their own without the message of a prophet. Abu Bakr is like them. This is what As-Suyuti is saying. Az-Zarkashi is citing As-Suyuti. Az-Zarkashi, this whole quote is Az-Zarkashi's quote. Within this quote, he cites As-Suyuti cites some names, Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufayl and his peers. These ones who reached monotheism without the message of a prophet. According to As-Suyuti, Abu Bakr is like them. He never believed in shirk. And this is the secret, As-Suyuti says, this is the secret of why Abu Bakr is the one mentioned in this way amongst all the Sahaba. So here's a footnote. Our Shaykh said about the statement of As-Suyuti. So what does the Shaykh say? Does the Shaykh agree with As-Suyuti? He said, this is not correct. That it's not correct that Abu Bakr was like those ones who reached monotheism without the message of a prophet. In fact, there was not left on the face of the earth a human believer except the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What's the proof for that from the Quran? وَأُمِرْتُ أَنْ أَكُونَ أَوَّلَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That's Surah Al-An'am. It means, O Muhammad, say, I was commanded to be the first of the believers. Meaning there was not any monotheist on the earth. I don't know the number of the ayah. The Shaykh said, this is not correct, and in fact, there was not left on the face of the earth a human believer except the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And had there been anyone with this ascription, who's like Zayd and those others, it would have been Ali. Had there been someone who, without the message of a prophet, other than those, amongst the companions though, who escaped shirk altogether, even in the time of ignorance, it would have been Ali ibn Abi Talib because he was raised in the Prophet's house. Yani, the Prophet, he took Ali from his uncle to help his uncle because his uncle had a lot of sons. So when Muhammad got older, alayhi salatu wasalam, he was amongst those raised by his uncle. When he got older, he took in Ali to relieve his uncle from some of the burden. Had anyone had that description, it would have been Ali ibn Abi Talib because he was raised in the Prophet's house. And he did not mix with the people of Al-Jahiliyyah. And what's this here? Okay, let's get this last footnote here before the next title. This footnote goes here. Iblis is enough of a consideration, for he was among, meaning with, yani in the presence of the angels, with an apparent high status before the creation of Adam. It seems to be that he was a great one at his time. Then what he did not calculate happened to him. Only losers feel safe from the punishment of Allah. So we ask Allah for the good ending. Footnote. The Shaykh also said about the statement of Al-Muhib al-Tabari that what he means is that Iblis was mixed with the angels worshipping Allah, and not that he was an angel. Allah said, إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. Except Iblis. He was a jinn, and he disobeyed the command of his Lord. So he was not an angel. So that footnote is to clarify. Yani, it's okay. The footnote's clear. Wallahu a'lam. Let's stop there. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes, Sheikh, please. I didn't get the part where you mentioned that Ali was raised and the story you mentioned.
Yeah.
Can you come again, please?
Yeah. Yani, the case is this. Al-Ash'ari said Abu Bakr never ceased to be acceptable to Allah. What is the exact statement there? You should get his exact Arabic quote here. He never ceased to be accepted by Allah. Inshallah, we'll put the Arabic statement there. So, this is what Al-Ash'ari said about Abu Bakr in particular, not about others. Not memorized about Al-Ash'ari that he said this about other than Abu Bakr. But, okay, yeah. So, why is that? As Suyuti, he says, well, that's because no state of blasphemy was confirmed about Abu Bakr ever. And maybe he was like Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufayl and the likes of him, who arrived at monotheism without the message of a prophet. So that's what As-Suyuti supposes about Abu Bakr and why Al-Ash'ari said what he said about Abu Bakr in particular. So the Shaykh disagrees with As-Suyuti here. According to the Shaykh, everyone on the earth by the time Prophet Muhammad appeared, before he got the revelation, every human was a kafir. Everyone, I mean every human. And he was the first believer from that time. And then the Shaykh said, and had there been anyone who has such a description that As-Suyuti is alluding to for Abu Bakr, it would have actually been Ali, because Ali was raised by the Prophet. So where he's going to be, and he didn't used to mix with the people of ignorance. He didn't used to mix with the people from the time of ignorance. He was raised by the Prophet and was not mingling with the people of the era of ignorance. So where's there's going to get a chance for blasphemy to creep into Ali? That's what's being said here.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, because he was raised with the Prophet himself.
Yes.
They were together by their uncle, you mean? Or what were you saying?
Ali, he is the Prophet's cousin. The Prophet himself, he was raised by his uncle, and his uncle had many sons. And he was poor. So when the Prophet ﷺ got older and he could help his uncle, he took in his uncle's son, Ali. So he raised Ali.
Okay. Now I get it. So here, our Prophet ﷺ, he raised Ali.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah, so the Shaykh is saying, had there been anyone who escaped blasphemy altogether from the time of ignorance, who's a companion, then it would have been Ali.
Yeah, I see. So this case about Abu Bakr, is it why and Ibn Rislan al-Shafi'i, he got it from al-Ash'ari then? When he says, what was the poetry line? لم يزل الصديق فيما قد مضى عند إلهه بحالة الرضا. This is what I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah,
That's from Al-Ash'ari.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Barakallah
And we
fiqh.
don't have issue here with Al-Ash'ari's statement. Yani, I
Yeah,
didn't learn there's any issue with Al-Ash'ari's statement. Rather, the Sheikh is disagreeing with As-Suyuti.
yeah.
As-Suyuti's explanation for Al-Ash'ari's statement.
Yeah. And anyways, the Suyuti is just mentioning a probability, and the Sheikh is saying this is no way probability. This is what's.
Yes. Yeah, heck it. Any other question? Okay, so we have like one footnote here that needs to be checked. Then we're going to get into the Mutashabi. And we have plenty of footnotes here for the Mutashabi. Okay, so looks like we'll be there for a while. Inshallah. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdihi.